Welcome back to another episode of the Scran Line. I'm Nick McCreadies, and while I'm building my kitchen set, you guys are just going to be hearing my lovely voice as we go through today's recipe. Today we are making a gorgeous chocolate and passion fruit cake, and if you've never had these two flavors combined together before, you're in for a real treat because move over chocolate peanut butter, chocolate and passion fruit is delicious. Let's begin by adding some flour to a large mixing bowl along with some sugar, cocoa powder, baking powder, some bicarb soda and some salt. We're going to mix that until everything is well combined, and then we're going to add 1 cup of milk, some vegetable oil, 2 large eggs, vanilla extract and some instant coffee. You can use instant coffee powder. Today I'm going to be using a coffee shop from our coffee machine. Mix, and guys, don't forget to hit that subscribe button because it actually helps this community grow, and that's what we want here, right? Lots of people who love cake. Once everything is well combined, we're going to add a cup of boiling water. Now, I actually burnt my hand doing this, so I would not recommend using a glass cup for this. I did it for the aesthetics, but not a wise choice when I look back at it. Once you've mixed that, you're going to notice that the batter goes really thin, and that's completely normal. That water actually makes this cake so incredibly moist. I would actually say it might make it a tad too moist, but it's really delicious. Now today we're going to be making 3 layers in our cake. It's a 3-layer cake, so we're going to need 3 8-inch cake tins. We're going to spray the bottom with some oil spray, line them with some baking paper, and we're going to distribute our batter evenly amongst the 3 cake tins. This is going to go in the oven just for 20 minutes. That's all it takes on 175 degrees Celsius. Once they're finished baking, you want to take them out, of course, and then let them cool down completely at room temperature. Let's move on to that passion fruit curd. This is so delicious, and it actually helps break through the sweetness of all that chocolate. So we're going to be adding some passion fruit pulp to a large heat-proof bowl. You can use fresh passion fruit pulp, or you can use the one that comes in a can. We're going to add some sugar, and we're going to mix that until everything is well combined. This is going to go in the microwave for about 90 seconds. We're going to stir it again, another 90 seconds. We want to get it nice and hot. Then, while you're still stirring with a whisk, you're going to add your egg yolks. This is going to be one of the things that helps this thicken up. Now, because that syrup, which is essentially a syrup, what we've made, is so hot, it's actually going to cook the egg yolk, so this is safe to eat. Once those are really well combined, you want to add some cold butter, and I've just cooped mine up because it makes it easier to stir it in and much quicker. Now that everything is really well combined, we're going to cover this with some plastic wrap and pop it in the fridge to set for about 2 or 3 hours. I let mine set overnight. Let's move on to the silky chocolate ganache. Now, I ran out of my regular chocolate buttons, which is what I usually use, so I use chocolate chips instead. I would tend to go more on the side of using chocolate buttons instead of chocolate chips. It has a completely different texture, but in the end it actually worked out. We're going to add some hot, heavy cream. I've just heated this up in the microwave, and we're going to let this sit for about 5 minutes. I actually covered it with a plate because if you cover it, it creates kind of like a steamy environment, and it just melts the chocolate really nicely. After 5 minutes, we're going to add some glucose syrup. This is optional, but it makes your ganache really smooth. And we're going to add some butter, which is just going to help this stop from setting too hard. It's also going to make it really glossy. Let this set at room temperature. Don't be tempted to pop it in the fridge, otherwise you're going to end up with a really stiff ganache. If your ganache sets really hard at room temperature, pop it back in the microwave for about 20 or 30 seconds. You want to aim for a spreading consistency. Now that our cakes have baked and cooled, I'm actually going to trim the tops off. This is optional, but it just makes stacking the cakes so much easier. I'll be using a cake turntable today, and I'm going to use a grip mat to make sure that my serving plate, which is what I'm going to use for the cake, is not going to slip around while I decorate. And guys, using a cake turntable makes cake decorating so much easier. Add a little bit of ganache on your serving plate and then add the first layer of cake. Now, I forgot to film adding the ingredients on the first layer of the cake, so I'm showing you the second layer, but it's basically the exact same as that bottom layer. We're going to add some ganache, a good generous amount, and then we're just going to spread it around. And you'll notice like that consistency that you're seeing on screen, it's nice and spreadable, almost like Nutella. That's what you're aiming for. So if you need to, pop it back in the microwave. Once that's nice and even, we are going to be adding some passion fruit curd. Now, the passion fruit curd is going to make this cake want to slide around, but that's not going to be a problem because in a second, we're actually going to be coating this thing in some more ganache. That's going to stop it from sliding around a little bit, but as a insurance policy, we're going to be adding some skewers on the top once we finish coating the cake before we pop it in the fridge for about 2 hours to set. And that'll completely stop it from sliding around. So if yours is sliding around, don't be disheartened, it will do that. Now, because mine was sliding around a little bit and I was having kind of a crappy day that day, it looks a little bit lopsided. I'm sure you guys will do a much better job than I was, but I was just having one of those days where nothing was going right and I just let myself have it. That's what I do when I'm having those days. I'm having a much better day today. We're going to add our final layer of ganache and then we're going to spread it around. We don't want this to look perfect, guys. We want it to look kind of rustic and something you'd find sitting on your home kitchen bench. This is going to go back in the fridge for maybe like 20 or 30 minutes just for a final set, and then it's ready to slice into. This cake is absolutely divine. I highly recommend that you try it. The recipe's in the description box below. If you have any suggestions for recipes you'd like to see me make, leave them in the comments. Thank you so much for supporting me and for supporting this channel by watching, hitting the like button and subscribing. I'll see you guys on the next episode of The Scran Line.